Hello, welcome to another tutorial. This time we're going to be focusing on some ships.
Ships in the harbour, ships called
Cargo ships, lovely ships. They're beautiful. They're great things to paint, really interesting. You can get some really expressive brushwork going and really sink your teeth into it. Make it gritty and dirty and all those things that are really interesting with our paintings. No pretty can pretty off. Please, if you like this video and if you like my work, please don't hesitate to share it with a friend. Tell a friend about it. They can tell a friend, and they can tell a friend. Before we know it, world domination. Watercolour is king. And subscribe to my channel. All that kind of stuff. Really appreciate every bit of your support. Now, thank you very much. Now, let's get stuck in to where we can paint a ship or two. It's shitloads of fun. All right, so let's have a look. We've got this nice scene today with some ships, and it's always good to choose interesting subjects. You don't always have to choose pretty subjects and things with amazingly pretty stuff everywhere. It's just usually pretty boring. That's funny stuff. Now, I just like to get my drawing in pretty quickly and, yeah, not much detail. I don't like detail going on when I'm drawing. I just like some basic big shapes, and because I want to let the paint do some work. And if you make your drawing too tight and too detailed, it ends up kind of locking you in to that composition in a way. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a strange one. But yeah, I always like to get big shapes in. As you see, I drew that one a little bit too small, so you just make it bigger. That's it. It's your little world. You can, you know, as good old Bob would say, it's your little world. You can muck around with it, do whatever you like. This photo and this scene already exists, so our job is to create a piece of art in response to that, not to copy it. Yeah. This photo, by the way, was taken by a great fellow named Nick Rashke, who are from Newcastle, who's a great musician, but great photographer as well. He gets out on his kayaks and things and takes all sorts of good pictures and yeah, lots of stuff with birds and things too. Very cool. And he's kindly given me permission to replicate or respond to his image, so really appreciate that. With these big shapes, these big drawings, really important just to get them in there and step away from it. It's kind of like when you're painting, you make the mark and you move on. These kinds of scenes are a little bit more forgiving in as far as we're expressing ourselves here. We're not just bogging down into a certain, certain part or anything. We're just getting straight into it and we're cracking on again. Here's our 3-inch hake coming through there. These hake brushes, they hold a lot of water. And as you can see, I have sped the footage up. Otherwise, no, I don't have a whole bunch of Duracells up my clacker. It's sped up to about 1.5 times the speed, but you can still see the brushwork, so it's not like the usual time lapse where you blink and you miss it. So yeah, big strokes. You got big brushwork here. Big strokes will always win out, and they'll be fresher. And you'll see even by the end of this painting, the sky's very fresh, and because not much was done to it. It was all done pretty quickly. Yeah, kids are having fun out there. All done pretty quickly, and just with the leftover muck from the palette. Same as in the water surface here, just big strokes. Just get them in. Don't pussyfoot around. Just get stuck in. Watercolour is not for the faint-hearted or the timid. You can't be timid and hesitant with watercolour. You've got to show it who's boss in a way. It'll soon tell you that you're wrong. You're not the boss, but you've got to at least act like you are for a little bit. I'm just getting some basic colours in here, and things. This ends up being a piece with lots of layers, and you can do that as long as there are some quite heavy layers in the end result here, but as long as you've got parts of the painting that are fresh and just sort of almost just put on, set and forget type thing, and it always works. You can overdo it, absolutely, but these kind of scenes are a bit forgiving for that. Just putting things in, just getting some reflections. Look at that. Reflections going down there, all looking okay. And it's all just underneath washes to feel our way through the painting. That's all. We're just feeling our way through it. Seeing how we end up. Just generally making marks so that we've got something there to go on. I think I start getting some colour in place now over the orange. Excuse me. Over the orange. And it's just generally adding little bits of stuff, bits of paint to glaze over. Just start establishing things and seeing what happens. Got to keep your eyes on the prize when you're painting watercolour. So you've got to have your end vision in place to see that it's all okay. But also, you've got to roll with the punches and go where it takes you, So don't be too pedantic. So you just make your marks and away you go. Now I've got one of these it's a flat brush. It's a 1.5 inch brush. It doesn't hold in bugger all water, therefore bugger all paint, but but it's nice and springy, so it gives you some cool little marks and different ways to do things. Always look at tools that make your job easier, for sure. Watercolour's hard enough as it is, so you're trying to look for things to make it easier, not harder. So all this stuff, all these colours, they all look drastic, and that's okay. They won't look drastic forever. They'll dry off, and you'll see that soon. Once they dry off, you'll see that it's all a bit it comes back a lot more timid. Because you've got to remember too, there's a lot of water in these washes here. So once they dry off, that water evaporates, leaving less pigment behind, or less pigment than you think. And they don't look as strong. But that's cool. Now I end up going for a bit of a grey for the top of this boat that's sort of out of shot. Or it goes out the top of the page. Just lavender, Holbein lavender, just getting it in there with a bit of neutral tint and things, and away we go. And I'm just putting little puddles of water and pigment on and letting it run. You don't, in the end result, you don't see too much of this separation, but there's an obvious separation where the orange of the bottom half versus the grey of the top half. And you see how much that lightens up when we dry it off. And I've just thrown a bit of water and splashed a little bit there, and you can see, just to create a bit of texture. Half these things in watercolour, they disappear when you finish the painting off, but you've got to have them there. They're underneath. Some of them might show through, some of them might not. But always have that vision in mind, or that goal in mind to keep it cracking if you can. This building and stuff in the background, I've just decided to leave really flat, just so it gives us that bit more distance. You don't want to put any detail in the stuff at the back, because ultimately it's just too much. If you put too much detail in that, it loses its depth, loses its realism. Ironically, if you put more detail in, you do lose a bit of that realism, that's for sure. And lots of water, just putting different shapes on this boat at the back here. Lots of water, tissues. Remember to paint with water. We're not painting with a static medium, which is a pain in the ass a lot of the time. But really, that's what we want. That's why we're doing it. So you've got to let watercolour do its thing. And the best way to do that is to remember that water can achieve some nice little tricks for you. And just let it sit there and do something as it dries. Yeah. Just some little bits in there at the moment. And I end up coming in here soon with some nice darks in that boat. My darks are generally neutral tint, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. But then the schminky neutral tint is really nice. That's pretty much it there, as you can see. And I put a bit of orange in there just to muck around with it, just to make it not so flat. But yeah, a lot of neutral tints. You've got to be careful. A lot of them are really dead and really sort of black, dull and lifeless, so they don't reflect any kind of light at all. So just getting stuck into things. Feeling my way around it. You should always want to paint with expression. You don't want to paint with any kind of tight, rigid, sort of lifeless and dull, kind of like my hair, and non-existent. But you don't want to be that lifeless and dull. You don't want your painting to be like that. You want your painting to have some expression and some personality, and that's where you've got to put your own spin on things. Like, you know what it's like when you're a kid and you're just painting and everything's cool and it's fun. You've got to remember to do that. And if you're looking at something, see, we've already got our own personal style. We just forget how to use it sometimes, and you've just got to stay on top of it. And that is just listening to yourself when you're painting. Think, oh, that doesn't look right. Squint your eyes, step back. What looks right? What doesn't? And you fix it. Don't worry if it's not the same as the reference photo. Who cares? Just paint it. Paint and let your own innate abilities come to the fore. Like, nobody else can do what you do. So embrace that. It's fucking inspirational, wasn't it? No, it's true though. It's all true. Going into some neutral and brown, but look of it. Yeah, we'll just start getting a few little dryer brush. Now, my camera is mounted on the same desk that I paint on, which I think is a mistake because it moves around because we're on a wobbly old dodgy floor that I stand up when I paint. And therefore you get that little bit of wobble. I might even try sitting down while I paint next time, just to try and alleviate some of that, because it is annoying. But anyway, it's cool. It's part of the deal. Warts and all on this channel. But no, thanks for putting up with all that. I'm getting used to all the technology and slowly starting to come to grips with it all. Now there you go, brushwork, bang, straight across. Move it from your elbow or your shoulder, straight across. Well, there we go, look at that. There's a bit of dry brush in there. And, you know, just let it run, let it do some stuff. So you can see that we're putting the stripes, so to speak, you know, that the separation down those in those two colours on the hull of that boat at the distance, but I'm also melding them together with a bit of water and stuff, so it's not just static. You don't want static. You don't want to have things looking like they've just been cut out of a book and stuck on. You know, you want things to have personality and life. At least I do. I don't know about you. You might want your paintings to be boring and dull. I don't know. I hope not. But yeah. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching my channel. And please don't feel obligated, but if you do want to contribute to the pirate ship, that'd be great. There is a PayPal link in the description and bank account details as well. no obligation whatsoever. I really appreciate any support that comes my way. And please, at a minimum, please share and like the pages, comment, like, thumbs up, all that stuff. That's tops. That helps a great deal as well. So really appreciate that. Watch all my other videos. You got heaps of cool stuff there. Some funny old ones. Have a look at the older ones. And I just started talking to a camera. It was a bit weird. But yeah, so this distance, this boat, go back and have a look at the reference photo that I showed you at the start, and you'll see that none of this is the same. It doesn't matter. It's a distant. All we're trying to get is that feel of a cargo ship of some sort. It's got cranes. It's got little boxes that might be containers. I don't know, but it's a working vessel. Let's put it that way. But you see, it's all very abstract. You know, you've got to have those areas of abstraction in your piece. And, you know, I'm just going to come in here now, I think, from memory. When I'm doing this, I'm looking at that stuff, and you can see I'm putting some paint on the edge of a palette knife there. And I'm just going to start putting a few straight lines in. I think I changed to a darker as well. So, but, you know, put a couple of little marks in. That's fine. Same thing again, but it doesn't have to look exactly like the crane or whatever looks in the reference. It's just got to tell the story and suggest to the audience and the viewer that it's a cargo ship or it's some sort of industrial ship. Oh, there's a bigger one. $2 paint, scrape it from Bunnings. It's good. Paint on there, make some bigger, longer marks just with pressing it down if you want. You know, it's all dry brush there, so it makes a hell of a difference. See that? That's cool. You couldn't paint that with a brush. It looks good though. So don't be afraid to vary your tools. Okay, now just putting a little bit of water on there, tissuing it out, just softening it up. See how annoying the stabilization is on the camera. I really need to sort that out. But we digress. We'll see what's happening here. Whoa, here's a little hake. Look at that, slick editing. Little hake. I'm going to go up here, a bit of water, and I think we'll come down with some sort of darker tone, I think. Or I'm just putting some, actually, yeah, here we go. Let's get some texture. Yeah, look at that. That's good. That brush stroke there, that little patch down the bottom in the middle of pure burnt sienna, you can still see that in the end result. I like it. So when things like that happen, when you're painting watercolor, when things like that happen, you save them. You don't paint over them and you don't get rid of them. It's easy to do because you go, oh, I'll just fix this bit up, and then, you know, before you know it, you've lost everything that was good. So I'm just working my way through, basically. Working my way through things and the hake on there. The hake for this sort of thing is not my preferred brush. I think I changed to the not so floppy brush in a minute, because it seems to, you can be a bit more accurate with it because it doesn't flop around everywhere. But here's where we get some nice darks coming in. Because you gotta really push that dark, exaggerate things. So if something's dark in the reference, then make it darker, push it. As Spinderella said, push it real good. That's what we're after. We want to be able to push things to their limits, and you know, if there's something nice and and dark, make it dark. Don't be too weak with it all. Same kind of scenario here with this boat at the back. I'm just really wary of making it like solid black. I don't want it to be solid black. I want it to be nice and interesting. So it's why I've got a couple of different sort of colours underneath, and I'll pull things out with tissues or whatever. But a couple little marks. You know, I'm not painting windows, or I'm not deliberately painting anything really. I'm just going in using my own artistic integrity, just going, well, that looks like it needs to be a bit stronger, looks like it needs some more horizontal lines, more verticals. I'm just trying to get the overall scene working. And all that happens with lots of little bits of stuff. It's not more technical than that. I don't know the names of these marks that I'm making. They're not even there. I think I stopped looking at the reference photo ages ago. The reference photo is just something to respond to, something to kick us off. Oh, there you go. It's good. It's a nice brush stroke. Well, scraper stroke. I think I go in and just start making that side of that ship just a bit lighter, but then I'll come back in. Here we go. Splatty, splatty. All good. I want to make that just a bit stronger. Here we go. It's starting to read as the back of a ship. Alright. Splatty some water. Here we go. Now we have to darken this one in the foreground up, of course, but I don't want to make it just a horrible dark black mess. I still want some kind of life in it. So I end up working this pretty hard just to get some different results, different textures and things. Good old Hake comes out with a little bit of, I think there's a bit of Paris blue and a bit of Payne's grey there. Oh, there's the blue. So I wanted to get some blue into it. I wanted, even though the reference photo, the water's essentially just grey. There's no real reflections even. It's just one of those dull, flat days. But I wanted to get some blue into the water and some life into the water as well. So I go quite strong. All those marks are really good. I love those dry brush areas and inconsistent areas. That's what we're after. And most of the time, as with reflections, they seem to work better when you've got some nice horizontal marks and some vertical marks, the same sort of time. And, you know, just creating a big, well, mess really, but creating a big interesting bit of water. Don't be frightened to do this kind of thing, and you probably got in your back of your head, you're overworking it, all that kind of stuff, and that may be true, I suppose, to an extent. But whilever it's wet, you can muck around with it. You can sort of go to town on it, and it'll, you know, behave for you. But you've got to be mindful of it, not to do too much. There are certain things you do that you go, oh, shit, I wish I didn't do that. But it's okay. It's what it is. It's what our medium is so good at, is letting our creativity just take effect and come to the fore. Yeah, I'm just putting in a few little marks that come back in later on. We can hear them afterwards. See them. We can hear them. Dickhead. They sort of shine through later on. These little turquoise marks are quite strong. Quite thick paint. But it's all the greater good. The greater good. Looking at that, the end result. If you squint your eyes now, you have a look. You look at this ship in the front, the top left, or the left-hand side. Here we go. Banging that water down. On that left-hand side, you can see that ship on the left is just too light. So we will have to make that darker, absolutely. But we can do that with glazes. Okay, oh, thank you, traffic. All right. Let's have a squeeze there. All right, that's all cool. So I think we're just going to get stuck into just a little bit of marks, a little bit of lifting out, and just feeling our way through it. If anyone's got any questions, by the way, any specific questions about any of my work or any of my processes, don't hesitate. Just ask in the comments. That'd be great. I'll happily help where I can. Whoop, there we go. So that little mark that dried up, that's all good. Okay. I end up mucking around with this and just sort of getting some different sort of darker tones on there at that top section so that it can stand out a little bit more, also that the boat behind it can stand out a little bit more. But I don't want to just glaze it and have it be a flat glaze. I want something a little bit more interesting than that. But yeah, muck around with it. Yeah, and think those colours, think purples and oranges, and they make a really nice sort of brown kind of colour together. Neutral tint's really good for this stuff, really is. But water, again, water. It is your friend. See those little watercolour marks down at where the boat's sitting on the water itself, the dark stuff, that's beautiful. That's watercolour at its best. That's the stuff that we can't paint deliberately. It's what we're after. Really, it really is. Right. Barangaroo, here we go. Right, so that's all fine. It's hard to remember what my thought process was at the time of painting it. But I think at this point I'm just starting to feel my way through the little, the little end bits, the little bits that just help pull a piece together. I know I end up making that ship in the middle quite dark. And it works, still works in the end. Okay, just sitting that distant boat on the water a bit better. And I've just painted that, just a little bit of dark tone, I think it was a bit of burnt sienna. And then just with a bit of water, I've come through and softened it up with the hake brush, the small hake. And that's all cool, it works. And just getting some bleeding going down here and there. Remember, it's a watercolour. You want this nice, industrial, messy but beautiful kind of feel that we're after. Okay. Just starting to work my way through, almost getting to the end of the thing, which is good. It's like it's a nice way to sort of finish up, because I'm taking care of the, it's just a clean tissue coming down on damp paper that's just leaving us a few marks, a few verticals. Now here we go with, here we go. Darkened it up and took it quite bluey, purpley. That's okay, it'll get there in a second. I've got to make that work and balance out down there as well. Okay. Yep. Some nice reflections where it's needed. And I also just want to just start bringing it to life. So we've got these dark moments and things that are helping bring that light out, which is great. The kids are going nuts. There we go, there was the hairdryer. So we got the hake again. Now I planned to do just another little pass of that water surface. You can see the hake just drops water everywhere. Love it. It's beautiful. Okay. Just a couple of things here and there. Now here is exactly where I should have left it, I reckon. Doesn't go too different from here, but just a little bit. Just darkened that blue up. Yeah, I quite like it. I like this kind of scene. There's a little bit more interest in the water there. I went to put a bit of smoke and stuff like that in there, but it didn't work. I ended up getting rid of it. But yeah, it was just a bit unnecessary. But you know what? That's the beauty of it. You give it a crack, and if it doesn't work, as long as you're quick, just get rid of it. That's just all water, and I was trying to get that smoky stuff to work. I ended up tissuing it out, but I scrubbed it off a bit later on. Now I did just notice at this side, the left hand, the far left, I needed to put a few more little dry brush marks and things here on the cabin. Everything there, that's all good. But also on the left hand side of the left hand boat, I had to darken that up as well, just to give it a bit more perspective, and that little bit of light coming through there is good on the side of that boat. Yeah, this bit here. It is nice and flat, but it just gives us a bit more to go on there, and quite strong. I spray it and I'll just tilt it up to kind of get it moving backwards for us. There we go, bit of spray. Moving the other way. Don't be scared. Lift your board around, tilt it, move it around. That's good. A few little red marks and dots and highlights and things. Whoa, thank you very much. The editing was hilarious, I must say. The commentary, so funny. And I really appreciate you sticking around and watching it all. It's very cool. It's a very cool painting. You should do it. I've done it a few times myself, and it's very cool. Never gets old, this one. So like I was saying before, please like the videos, give the old
thumbs up,
and some slapping of that subscribe button, and also tell a friend, tell your mates. That'd be great. Really appreciate it. But check out my website, TonyWhiteWatercolour.com. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. Please check it out. In the meantime, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.